Hey guys, Willie from JAZZEDGE. Here is another installment of Willie Answers. This time I'm going to do a Willie Answers on a question that I got on my lesson, Improvisation with Chords and Inversions. This is a very, very popular lesson on the site. Students really enjoy this lesson. You could see some of the stuff, some of the different chapters in here. Why use chord tones for improv, common chord progressions, creating your own progressions, using chords outside the diatonic scale, inverting chords, flat 7, slash chords, dominant motion. A lot of great information in this lesson. If you just do a search for the word inversions on pianowithwillie.com, you will find that lesson. Anyway, what I wanted to show you was this question here from Donna. It says that it's easier for her to remember 7th chord, so like a C major 7 chord, as a C with an E minor triad. Okay, so C plus an E minor triad. Or like say a D minor 7 chord is a D chord with an F major triad. Now, and she was wondering, is there a disadvantage to memorizing the 7th chords this way? There isn't a disadvantage. Like any time that you can figure out some way of learning that's going to work for you, then that's okay. So the main idea is that you're learning it. So if I ask you, can you play a C major 7 chord, and you play that chord, perfect. If I say, can you play a C major 7 chord, and you have to go like that, that's not so good. Okay? You want to be able to know all of those notes of a C major 7 chord. Okay? So there are some students that have come up with their own system for learning how to read music. So rather than using the notation on the staff, they have colors and shapes and all this different kinds of stuff. Where it becomes a disadvantage is, one, if you're going to go to college for music, all right? If you're going to go and like start taking some music theory classes and stuff like that, that would probably be a disadvantage. But a lot of times students, that's not where their direction is headed. But where you will find that you may get yourself into trouble is knowing what the notes of the chord are and knowing how they function in the chord. So knowing that this is the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th of that C major 7 chord, that is critical. You want to know, bam, what's the 5th of the chord? What's the 7th of the chord? What's the 3rd of the chord? And you really want to quiz yourself on that. So my concern would be is if you're thinking of this as a C and then an E minor triad, are you thinking root, 3rd, 5th there with C in the bass? Because then that would be incorrect. So it's, again, it really depends on how you're thinking about the theory. One thing I like to tell students as well is that it's like a globe. If you look at a globe only on one side, it's like okay, so you see I got a ring on here, right? So if you look from this side, you can't see that I have a ring. I have to turn until finally you see that. You see my watch, see my ring here, okay? But if I was just like this, you wouldn't be able to see that. You're missing a piece of information, all right? So the more different ways that you can look at music theory like this, the better, all right? So if you want to think C with an E minor triad, that's okay. Now, where this does help is that when you're improvising, if you think, so now if you start thinking E minor 7, guess what? See how you get that 9th? That's all off of that E minor 7, these lines that I'm creating. Okay? So there's where it does help. Now another chord that you could think of is an A minor. See how A minor is kind of embedded into that C as well? It's like a C6 chord, isn't it? So there's a C6 chord that's really an A minor 7 chord. Going between the A minor in inversion and the E minor 7 chord in root position. Okay? So when you're going to do stuff like this and have an E minor 7 with C in the bass and you're thinking of this as extensions, this is where it might start to get a little confusing if you're thinking, okay, that's a C with an E minor triad, but then I have an E with a G major on top. Right? That's where it might get a little bit confusing. So as long as you know, if I asked you, this is the test, if I asked you, what are the notes of a C major 7 chord? If you say C, E, G, B, and if I said, what's the 7th of a C major 7 chord, and you say B, what's the 5th? It's G. What's the 3rd? It's C. Did I catch it? What's the 3rd? It's E, all right? As long as you know all of those notes and you know how they function in the chord, then it doesn't matter how it is that you think about forming that chord. All right, so that's it. I'll see you in the next Willie Answers. Post in our student forum at forums.jazzedge.com and get your piano and music questions answered. Thanks for watching.